Hello everybody, Anthony is here. In this little two-part video series, I'll talk about how I sculpted a tower inside the 3D code and then put it together for 3D print, and how essentially build a printer and everything that came with that. In the first part, I will only talk about the design sculpting inside 3D code. And I just want to know that now I'm a 3D Code affiliate, so if you want to buy 3D Code with a $50 discount, you can check the discount code in my description. And if you buy one, I'll also get a little commission from that. It'll help my channel grow. Thank you, and let's get to it. So for the tower itself, I use an old pencil sketch that I made for a game we were doing a few years back. So the game got never finished, but now I have a lot of concept art that they could reuse to make maybe a board game today using the 3D printer now. And you can see here that I've set it up this sketch as my background image, and this is a video as a really time lapse at 4x speed. So here I've created a cube and I started using the cut tool, cutting it, producing new layers. Then I've just entered the full screen mode, because mostly like there is a hotkey, you press A and you can pick any layer, then you pick it, then you just scale it and move it around. So now I'm just cutting it out using increasing the resolution right here, using the cut off tool. Then I'm using the wax height, so it's less destructive. And again, the 3D code is really amazing for this type of jobs where you need to create some type of environment, because it's really organic, really fast to cut and add volumes. Just trying to shape it a bit more correct proportion wise. So you can see every time I like start with the low volume, upgrade it and make it denser. Brick becomes a bit too soft, so then I just go with the cut off tool and just cut out all the softness and shape it so it's a bit sharper stone. Alright, so I've got my shell, and obviously looking at the concept art on my left and right. Proportions right. So the thing about this model, which I didn't know at the time I was making it, I thought it would be really easy to 3D print, but it turned out that there are certain approaches to this, and the thing here is that there's a lot of right angles. So it goes up and then it stops at the right angle, and those right angles, overhanging parts, they need a lot of 3D printing support, and that will be a little bit of a hurdle. So there is also an opportunity to just turn this model around by 45 degrees, so then everything is not actually printed at the straight, but you print it at a tilted angle. But in the end, I decided that it's easier for me to print it at the right angle if you just break it down by multiple parts. So if I print the base separately from the mid part, and from the top mid part, and then from the top part, and that's what I decided in the end. And here you can see I'm just building this ground level. The idea was that this whole game was happening kind of in the ice, though you can't really see ice or sand, so I was just treating it the same, imagining it could be ice or a sand. And the name of the game was Road to Valhalla. Unfortunately, we never kind of finished it. So here you see I just used the cut-off tool, then I smooth it out, getting the shapes that I need in place. Activating the shadow display. So I'm using the curvature tool to get some stronger silhouette, so it's not all just like mushy and soft, but a bit more accents. So So here I was filling it out down the base, so now I can carry on and produce the actual bricks. Put it on the place. Yeah, I think actually even in the end the concepts still look better than 3D model. It's like it was a bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's what happened. You see here I'm trying to get the shape of the top tower. The final idea was that if I make it, it can also be like a pencil holder, because if I make a hole in the middle of the top, I could just put a pencil and it would be just a pencil holder. And that's what I've done later. Okay, just assigning different materials, different random materials to the shapes as well. Now I'm using the split tool, so that allows me to get the bricks, the like correct bricks, like the great thing about Vedicolor, everything you do is watertight, right? So you can't have any holes in the voxel mode. It's just impossible. All the models are always watertight. They're always like kind of physically correct, I would call it, because you can all the time you can uh, just subtract volume, add volume, chip it off, add. Well, actually, it's more about chipping off, less about adding. But you edit, do it in a nice, correct way. You would do the real object, the real clay. So every time I do a split, I then run I've just pressed F12 multiple times to smooth out the model to get a nice softer brick. Just doing that again, getting it, smoothing it out, positioning it. I try to make them penetrate slightly, so it'll be obviously easier for 3D printer if everything slightly penetrates. So you don't have like parts hanging in the air. But again, they penetrate at the minimum level really. And the slicer tools, if there's something like floating in the air, the slicer that you will use, I'm using Cura here, the tool that allows you to create the supports and prepare your file to turn your file into G code that you can later use for the 3D printer. It can also fill the gaps where it needs to be filled. So you don't have to be too paranoid about like keeping everything together, because in the worst case scenario, the slicer will build the supports. But ideally, you want them to be touching each other, so it'll be easier it'll be like a more solid structure. And kind of funny when I watch this video, remember like recalling a book I was listening to. I was listening to a sci-fi book by Ian Banks, one of the culture novels. I think Use of Weapons, pretty cool book. Recommend, because this sculpting is quite relaxing process, more about muscle memory that you build up over the years, and you can really watch a video, listen to a podcast, or I usually quite often listen to audiobooks, and listen to a lot of Ian Banks sci-fi stuff lately, like maybe 5 books from his culture novels. Good stuff, can recommend. So here you can see I'm just moving stuff around, moving bricks around, just really doing basic composition work, because the whole concept is fairly simple, just about trying to replicate it and trying to make it look nice. So you can see that the whole tower is fairly low. It's a 500,000 triangles. So later I'll start going and increasing the resolution on all of the bricks up and up to be able to add some little chip offs here and there. Just doing extra cuts. Like I've done the major shapes, major bricks, then I'm just splitting them in halves to add more separation. And always trying to make bricks to overlap properly, so you could imagine it being built in real life, so it doesn't fall down. Otherwise, if you don't think about it, it will look really fake. You don't have just bricks floating in the air. You have to overlap a little bit. And you can see I was trying to catch every little outline detail of the tower. You know, there's a little tiny brick there. I added this little like slide, little curve. I also added. Right. So just clean this up. Big shape. Again, constantly increasing resolution. So now it's like 750,000 triangles. It's displayed. Using box height now to shape the cage. And I'm trying to get that cut you can see on the concept zone. Just cutting and cutting. Easy as. And again, I think that's really cool for environments like this, fantasy environments, the best tool. Like so much easier to deal in here, so much more intuitive. I have a bigger video about like using the 3D code for large modular environments. Again, it was a breeze using it for a fantasy environment before, and it's a breeze doing stuff like this inside of it. So using a curvature tool that gives me a bit better outline. I want it to be not straight, so but a bit curved. Always in the box hide mode right now, so I can always unhide anything I'm hiding. See here, cut that cage out. Sometimes I forget about certain elements and I have to replicate them. And here you see I just use the move tool to push these guys up because it was easier than to try to slice it. And also breaks that uniformity, or just, it's a bit of difference to the whole shape. Also, you can notice I'm using like the shiny material to the whole object, because if you have some shiny mat that becomes really quite visible if you have any mistakes or anything like that. like touching the base a little bit, now doing the top. So I'm using that cube to create this type of kind of horns, you can say. Uh, Usually people, when they see this particular concept, they think that it's a Sauron tower from Lord of the Rings. Wasn't really intentional, but I guess it's somewhere deep there on the subconscious level. Doing those cuts. You know, you don't need any super tough precision. I'm just doing it like eyeballing all of it. And I always have this nice soft edge all around the model. This soft edge can be a drawback, but in this particular case it's nice. Right, I think there was a little gap. I missed a little video not recorded. So you can see that worked a little bit on the tower. Now it's at about 2 million triangles, so all of that stuff has been increased in the density. So now when I do a cut, I get cuts that are nice and sharp. Probably even too sharp, but I'm pretty sure later on I'll just smooth them out a little bit. Yeah, like I've just done here. Did run a F12 pass, and then using the scrape tool that can to do these blends between the surfacing, which just makes it less uniform. And pretty much I will do all these kind of operations over each brick. See here I was using the circular operation to hide bit and then unhide, and then a rectangular selection to cut out some bits. Always a combination of different shapes. Yeah, I really like what you get is a like, circular tool. We get this really nice natural slide. And again, smoothing it out, like pressing F12 like 3 or 4 times. Using the curve brush here, probably the curve kind of behaves similar to, if you press Control, it behaves similar to a scrape tool. It's like a smoothing out and breaking down the rock. So I just put a little gap there. There was, now it's a bit more stick together. So do like a wide ellipse cut and just a few rectangular cuts. And then again, just smoothing. Yeah, I have the top one. You can see this hole I made, which wasn't recorded, and that hole was made essentially to be able to put a pen inside. Yeah, I found that the circular ellipse tool on a certain angle works really great for this type of rocks. And I've just used the move tool for like large scale move of one of them, like wide thin slices. Again, minor break shape. Using wax hide tool, hiding and unhiding to get nice chips off of the mesh. So, if you're doing a realistic rock, you would just keep it there without applying any smoothing. Here, because it's all stylized and I want to be soft and nice, I apply smoothing and also spray brush. So, if I see the rocks penetrate each other in a really CG way, like a naturally, then I do the cut to make it a bit more natural. So there's always a gap between the two rocks, two stones. And you can see I'm just uh, at any time, if I feel like my proportions are off, I do and rescale, pretty much do a major rescale of everything. And it's always a combination of cutting and using the move tool to get nice looking organic shapes. Probably if you wanted to be a bit more efficient and faster, you'd just make a couple of rocks that are already been chipped from different sides and then just reuse them as much as you can. Here I kind of was in the mood just to treat every single piece differently. We had some time to do that and decided to go for that super handcraft look without any reusability of any elements. Yeah, just split that bit and immediately smoothed out edges. Just scaled it up a little bit so it fit in a bit more snugly. And looking for that penetration, trying to make it look more natural, and then a little bit of a gap. I think in the end I even overdone the stones because on the concept it was a bit simpler than what I ended up doing. Like I did way too much variation to the blocks of stones. And again, using the move tool for big moves. Obviously, I'm always saving, and 3Go gets got this incremental savings. So every time you press Ctrl Shift S, you get version up. So like Tower 01, Tower 02, Tower 05. So I can always go back in time and re-input some of the bits from the older saves. I try not to do it often because it's super time consuming to re-input anything from back from time. But you have that ability, and usually I have a lot. I save a lot. I'm trying to get a bit more uniqueness to these horns, the open spikes, not horns, spikes. Getting that kind of snow in place. And then I also wanted to add this little, like, I don't know what that is, nails, bolts on the sides. Actually, one of these bolts wasn't connected that well to the mesh, and it kind of fell off because it was just almost floated in the air. So when it was printed, it just didn't stay there. So make sure you have some connection there. And here, obviously, we're using these guys a lot. So that was the thing that every time I would scale this little bolt, it would kind of offset from the surface because it was scaled from the middle, not from the from the actual gauge, and that eventually led to one of those bits to fall off after the print. So I combined all those little bits and then just reduplicated it and used the move tool to move them around. So you can use like a pose tool, but I was using move tool because it's easier, because selection in 3D code unfortunately isn't great. Like selecting stuff and moving it around, bit time intensive, effort intensive. So I have way too many of these guys, so I'm just now looking at what can I. Adding them. I'm adding like the maximum amount of them, and then I will be removing the extra ones that I didn't like. Yeah, move brush here works out really well to place these little bits in place. And if they melt a little bit, I can always just fix it. That melt actually adds a little bit of believability. So now here's the box hide, and with the box hide I can always hide elements and then unhide them if I deem it necessary. And I can just judge here how many I need. And pretty soon I'll just run also render pass, because you can always press render in 3D code and you'll get a decent render to see how it looks in the end. See those little rock bits. Yeah, you don't want to have any fake CG connections, so space it out. So here I'm using the the bottom base and subtract it from the bottom. So now I can melt the parts around, because it just ran a Boolean operation, and it will add this bit more natural look of having this as snow around the structures. a little bit more irregularities to sculpt. Then run in a render, and it looks quite nice, you know, really nice. Yeah, quite enjoyed pressing the enter button. I'm doing some final touches. Some of them are kind of unnecessary, really. Just checking it from different angles as well, because obviously in pencil drawing there's only one angle of view, but I need to have all these angles look good. And that's really about it for the recording. Here I'm inside t-shirt, so you can see I just dropped the model in it. The polygon is pretty low, 3 million triangles. So I assigned this blue material. Essentially, actually, I had this idea of having blue models that I would also print in the blue plastic. So I rendered it like this, and also I bought a blue plastic PLA, and it turned out to be really close to the final model. So you can see there's a hole right there, goes through the whole thing. And yeah, so stay tuned, and in the next video I will talk about how I turned it into a 3D print and about my 3D print setup, and see you there.